Welcome to ShotCallers. I'm your host, Dennis Postema, and today we have a very special guest, Teyo Johnson. Teyo, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you,
Yeah,
Dennis.
well, I'm glad you're here. We are at the Video Podcast Studio, so I want to give a shout out to Trevin and all his team here for allowing us to film here today. So thank you. All right, Teyo. So tell me a little bit about your backstory. How did we get here?
Just grew up in Seattle area, mainly West Coast guy. Played a ton of sports, played 2 sports in college, left Stanford for the NFL draft, played for the Raiders, a few other teams, and then had to transition after pro sports into, what everybody else kind of has to do out of college, find a career and find a job. So for the last 15 years, I've been out in, what we like to call the wilderness, just making it and, actually having a little bit of success, a little bit of failure, a little bit of success, and it's been good. So it's good to be here with you. Hopefully share my story so other guys can hear it and follow suit.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me a little bit. You go from Seattle to here. What a weather change. Huh?
Yeah. I've lived all over the country, but this is something else. You gotta tough it out in summers here. I looked at it's a 108 right now outside.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a warm one, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna get hotter too. So.
Yeah, we had a meeting last night, and the first one was like, well, let's sit outside. I'm like, they're like, there's misters. I'm like, there's gonna be a mister if I'm sitting outside because my sweat's gonna be spraying at you.
It's wild, man. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what's it like to transition from playing at the highest level of professional sports to then being like, okay, like how. Tell me some of the things, I guess, to start off with. What do people in that situation have to look out for? What advice do you have for them?
Sure, yeah. You go from being, spoiled brat in every sense of the word to now you're a regular schmegular guy. I can remember one time I got cut, and within an hour, the car dealership was calling me like, yo, we need that car back that we gave you. You're back to like, and you have this acquired helplessness that, you had people doing stuff for you all the time. We all fall for the most seductive pitch ever as an athlete when the agent comes in and says, I'm going to make sure all you have to do is worry about sports. I'm going to take care of your mom's house, your cars, your, everything.
Yep.
No more class. All you got to do is play ball. And you fall into that. I mean, who doesn't fall for that at 20, 21 years old? And, what happens is all the kids you went to class with have continued to grow, gain skills and experience. And so when you're done playing ball, you're dropped there in the wilderness without these, you've got to go back and start over and create, some sort of, carve out some sort of job skills or some sort of abilities that you can do in the business world to make a living, some sort of trade craft.
That's really calling a spade there too. Is that the other people are trying to acquire these other skills, as you're worried about what you're doing, obviously in the game.
So you're 30, and somebody's got 10 years of whatever practice ahead, on you, and so you're in a deep hole, and it's a lot. It's hard to get out of, and luckily I was always curious, but and kind of a serial entrepreneur, even like in the off season. And so I was able to kind of catch up quickly, but, not completely. And then new industries come in, and sometimes what you gained in one experience, can transfer over. I mean, sports definitely helps you with time management, discipline. You have an incredible work ethic from being an athlete. But I think realizing that you're completely starting over and the approach is very important to gaining, that ground back.
Yeah. I think funniest thing is, and I know we joke about taking a picture and me being way shorter than you. And so when I realized I wasn't ever going to play in the NBA, surprise, surprise, because I was a big avid sports fan, and my brother and I would watch all sports all the time. And once I realized that and I shifted my focus, just like you said, I was still fortunate enough being an athlete at a much lower level, being an athlete and having that work ethic and turning that drive into, which I see in you, turning that drive into literally just flipping it into another industry.
Right.
And you've done that. It looks pretty flawlessly. I'm sure there's some things you ran into, but
Sure. I mean, luck has a lot to do with it, but I think the biggest thing is, we got to find something that you're passionate about, and then become an A player at that skill or that job. Like, I think of myself as an A player when it comes to business development, but I put a lot of time and effort into that, and then just realizing you may be an A player in one field that doesn't necessarily carry over to another field. I see that all the time, and I think a good example of that is Michael Jordan going to play baseball, right?
Right.
I mean, you would have thought it just doesn't always transfer. Like, I work with a guy who's big-time real estate guy. Doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be the best business partner in a tech play or something like that.
Really good analogy.
Yeah, so I think understanding that and surrounding yourselves with A players in that field that you're working in, and we were, I've been lucky in finding those people and working with those people.
Yeah,
for sure.
Tell me about, like, as far as being a serial entrepreneur. Do you ever catch flack for that? I mean, I catch flack for it all the time. So
there were times, yeah, it just was the wrong product or the wrong timing, and you learned a lot about not just investing but partnerships and time. I think timing's a big part of it, and yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes you got to get lucky. Really, I've had some things that just on paper were supposed to go really, really well, and they didn't. Yeah. And then some things that really didn't think were going to do much really did well.
All of a sudden,
yeah.
Does that take showing up every day, or what's that?
I mean, when you connect the dots, it's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But it's really like building up your social capital and then monetizing that social capital, and then, an introduction here or putting these people together there, and you didn't even know this was taking place, and they come back and they say, hey, this is something really great just happened. Thank you. Now you're part of it. Yeah. You're like, okay, great. I didn't no idea. I'm so happy. And then you learn all the hard lessons. You got to get stuff in writing, and contracts and all that. So
it'd be nice to be able to do handshake every time.
It would be. Yeah.
Talking about when you going into like networking and relationships, how important is that? I mean, obviously, with having the contacts and gaining those contacts, how important is networking and building those relationships for business owners?
It's super important. I mean, from my experience, people want to work with people they enjoy, that they have good track records with, that they can trust, that they enjoy being around. One thing I learned from COVID was, people want to be around people. They want to be hit with all five senses. Being here in Vegas, you really saw that. It's just how fast Vegas bounced back, because this is where people wanted to come and have, have those five senses touched and be around people. And the conventions, I just came from a convention. There was 40,000 people for a video game convention.
Really?
It's just like, yeah, people don't necessarily, Zoom is good, all that, but I think getting out, putting yourself out there, the best deals I've made were just from random encounters, being in, places and out there, and there's no real science to it. It's just a matter of, everyone says ask the universe, and I don't know what that is, but it's definitely being out there and being social is a big part of. And when you realize, like, town like Vegas is a very small city, so you start realizing you're like 1 degree away from the person you really need to talk to for your business. And,
right.
You don't get that without getting to know people and do favors. And
I see that very quickly happening here. I mean, there's a lot of, and people are open to network if you're a good person. Yeah. I mean, they're really trying to just do things the right way.
Absolutely. Some of the best advice I've heard out here was, first you spend the favor, then you spend the money. But you got to develop the favor, it's as a currency, and build that up with your network,
That's very good. In talking social capital, I love that you put that out there, because I think giving and doing those things for people, and the reciprocity factor of, wow, this person did this for me without any gain, and they did it all for the right reason.
Yeah. And just being good, you never know. So it's a good habit to just treat people, well and with respect, and do what you say, and build yourself up a good reputation, and good things will happen.
Yeah, you say don't judge a book by its cover, but I learned that a long time ago in finance, and I've taught my team that and everything else. You have no idea when you're sitting there talking to somebody. You have no idea what's going on in their life,
Right.
what type of situation they're in. You have no idea really who you're even talking to.
Correct.
They could be the second in command for a major chain, right?
Yeah.
They could be, you have no idea who they're talking to just because you assume.
Right.
It's a very dangerous, slippery slope. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that that's a good tactic to have. And the cool thing about being in person is there's something, and I like Zoom. Don't get me wrong. Zoom makes it convenient, and there's a lot of things that you can get done without having to jump on a flight. But the cool thing about being in person is you get to, with that interaction, you get to see like what type of person they really are. And for me, what kind of screwed me over during COVID is, the mask. So I'm sarcastic, right? So if I'm sitting there and you don't see me smiling and I say something, I kind of sound like a jerk sometimes, because I'm really not. And I'm like smiling big, but if you have a mask on, nobody can see that.
Right.
So,
You just maybe your eyes a little bit, but yeah, no, it was. I think we're still all recovering from COVID a little bit. It's still processing on how weird that was. And, walked around like Michael Jackson for 2 years, with masks on. But which really, and COVID was very difficult for our business, because we're a business that moves bodies, and there was no moving people during that time. So,
how did you guys sustain it?
Luckily, we have such a low burn rate that we were able to just focus on our site and the platform, and we didn't have a lot of costs that would most companies in our position probably would have had to go under. So.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what's going on with those businesses or anything right now as far as?
Sure. I mean, go to mride.com if you're listening to this, and if you're ever in Vegas or San Francisco and you want to go to a game or a concert at Allegiant Stadium or Levi's Stadium, we give luxury shuttle rides to people from well-known venues around the city. So, we got the Raiders season coming up. We're super excited. But even before that, we got the Morgan Wallen concert, doing 2 shows. Guys blowing up. And so Vegas is unique in that there's not a lot of tailgating is not really a thing here. Mm-hmm. You can't do it. So this new model of enjoying a concert or game is to go to the resort, enjoy the resort, tailgate there, gamble, party, eat, and then shuttle to the stadium with us, and then we bring you back to the resort where you can keep the party going. And it's been working out great so far. It's a white glove, kind of like a Jet Suite X on the ground kind of service for people to get in and out of Allegiant.
Yeah, and that's
in T-Mobile.
The really cool thing about that is, I mean, first of all, I love the entire business model of that because, like you said, tailgating, it eliminates, okay, well, if we can't tailgate, what do we do?
Which was fundamental. I mean, my whole life I grew up tailgating, right? So
I'm from Ohio, so
But when you actually go to one of the resorts and you enjoy it, it's almost fun or more fun than hanging out in the parking lot where it's really hot. But and then in San Francisco, we pick people up in the marina down there because there's been a trend of these stadiums being built, SoFi being one of them as well, where the parking's very limited. And I think, they're relying on Uber and rideshare to kind of pick up the slack. And it's not so much, it's hit and miss. But with us, someone has a guaranteed ride. So we're really an ancillary solution. We're not the solution. Right. But we're also the best way for people with physical disabilities to get in and out of these stadiums. And, so we're getting in where we fit in, as Too Short says.
I love that. Hey, that's right. Get in where you fit in. I love it. Yeah. So compare, if you don't mind, compare the difference of an experience if you're going to go to an event and you say, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get an Uber and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get a taxi or whatever it may be. Compare that experience compared to with
Thanks. That's great for so for us, you got your ride, you book it on, you book it online ahead of time on our website. You get a QR code in your receipt, and there's different pickup locations we have around Vegas. Palms, Circa, Atomic Golf is going to be another pickup location. So You go there, enjoy the resort, watch the earlier games, or say if there's a concert, you go play the slots, the tables, and then at the pickup time, our buses come, and these are the same buses that the artists and the athletes use. The nice
Right.
tour motor coaches, and for $40 round trip, you've got a single seat on one of these buses. We have a person on the ground there to greet you, scan your QR code, you get a wristband. So we know that you're on the bus on the way back, and we're now working to where the resorts are giving you specials if you have that wristband. 2-for-1 drinks when you come
Really?
back to and we drop you right near the stadium, and it's difficult if you don't have our service because Mandalay is a pretty far walk away from Allegiant. So. And then what people are starting to realize, it's not so hard getting there. It's that mass exodus of people getting out where you're not going to get an Uber for, at least 30 minutes.
Right.
You're not going to get a cab. The taxi lines are 45 minutes once you do get to the resort. So with us, after the game, you walk right back. There's the buses, show your wristband.
Oh, my gosh.
So the resorts like it because we get those VIPs back sooner than later so they can keep, enjoying themselves and spending money. So
That's genius. I mean, that's worth the $40 right there. Are you kidding?
I would say,
that weight, especially depending on the weather.
Oh, it's not getting cooler. It's getting hotter every year.
Yep.
So,
and you talk about tailgating, you think about it right out here. There's not any amount of you couldn't wear the right cutoff or even shirtless out here and be comfortable.
They've got water stations along the way when you walk to the game. I mean, it's a lot. So you want to see, and with us, you get on the bus with a drink in your hand, and
amazing
AC and music, and plug your phone in. So we've been in 1 year in business in Vegas, and it's done really well, and we're looking forward to another strong second year. We're the preferred shuttle partner for Allegiant Stadium and the Raiders and the Golden Knights. And
that speaks volume for itself.
Yeah, they've been amazing partners. So once we got our partnership with the Raiders, things started to really happen for us. And so I got to credit my alumni status as a former Raider definitely helped me get in the door and start that partnership for us. That's
really cool.
So,
and realistically, talk about nobody else can even you guys are the only ones doing this.
Yeah, we have a unique license because in Vegas it's rare. If you own buses, you can't sell individual seats or limos. You have to charter that vehicle to one entity. So our booking platform allows for us to then, the bus company loves it because they get their bus leased by us and their driver, and then we go ahead and sell the 55 seats. So they win. They get their money, and we keep the difference from the upsell of the seats. So it works. It works great.
Yeah,
this is equipment that would be sitting static otherwise, right? And they're local companies, so the money stays, in the town. And
very cool. A lot of win-wins there.
Yeah, it's a lot of wins.
Yeah. So what do you see happening next for the company?
Hopefully, our biggest goal is to be on one of these ticketing platforms where, a Vegas.com or a Ticketmaster type of platform where once someone buys a ticket to the game, we pop up as an add-on premium, like a rent-a-car after you buy a flight. That's what we're working on for this year.
That's a really cool
idea. That'd be huge, yeah. There's more resorts. We'd love to talk to more, sign with more resorts, have more pickup locations. And we had a big year with EDC this year. It was our first time doing it, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Electronic Daisy Carnival, but it's 180,000 people per day at the racetrack, and so it's pretty hard and not a bit of a nightmare getting in and out of there each day. So our services turn out to be really, really good for people going to that event and then getting out of that event at 6 a.m, trying to find an Uber is
again, that's a genius idea of where they can instead of that's wow. So, and realistically, cost-wise, you're talking same price, if not.
Well, EDC they're charging $100 each way to get up there at least, per person.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So not only do you get the better ride, and then better experience, you get, and not have to wait, but you're also paying on it. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think as far as what's next on the agenda for your serial entrepreneurship?
Just trying to build this up. I think Vegas is such a huge project. Which I love, but there's so much growth happening here. You've got the baseball team coming, you've got an NBA team coming, we've got Formula One here, which would be another huge partnership for us. I think right now we're just focusing on Vegas. There's a need for our service in LA. Would love to bring it out there at some point, but the Olympics there are coming for 2028. They're already talking about how we're going to move people around. They're going to try to build some trains, metro system or something. But yeah, I think we would love to probably franchise out and have people bring this to other cities where it's needed. I can't tell you how many times people who know me and know what we're doing, and they're like, man, I was just at the LSU football game and I wish we had an MRIDE. I was trapped for an hour, So I think this is just a service that works and could work in a lot of places around the country.
That's true. And I love that you're focusing on, like you mentioned, Vegas, because the fact that the infrastructure for business here is unprecedented. I didn't even realize. And that,
it's crazy, man. It's the land of milk and honey if you're trying to come out here and start a business.
It really is.
I love our new governor. He's so pro-business.
That means a lot, too.
Yeah, Lombardo's amazing, and it's not going to stop. I mean, the cost of living here. I mean, I don't know if you lived in California. I've lived in California. I've been taxed in California. And you just live a better life here. You can go to the beach all the time. It's just a 4-hour drive.
Right.
But it's a lot better living out here, and you got the Strip. You can eat at the best restaurants in the world.
Food is unreal.
It's a 24-hour city. Yeah, I went up seeing my friends who come to Vegas all the time. I see them more than when we live 10 miles apart.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're out here all the time. Yeah. Everybody's out here, man. Yeah. The whole world comes here.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a billion reasons why. Everything that's going on, the different events and conventions, the different things, and the flights, and then, like you mentioned, like as far as residency, compared, that's not taxation is real.
Yeah, it's really,
especially
really
for
real.
business, you start adding those things up, and if somebody's taking, what is that, 13% now or something crazy?
It's sick.
It is,
sick, dude.
Well, anything over double digits is just insanity,
it's
right?
It's crazy, man. But the only thing here is you got to deal with the heat. But once you get through that, I've never lived in a better town.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons for heat and snow. I mean, like a lot of people, like I love the way snow looks, but I hate driving in icy roads. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
That, man. Exactly.
People talk about 4-wheel drive. I'm like, 4-wheel drive doesn't do anything for ice.
Yeah. No.
I remember from being in the middle of a field in an all-wheel drive vehicle. Yeah. It doesn't matter, especially they sit low.
It's hard to get to the gym when there's 2 feet of snow outside, man.
Exactly. And not only is it hard physically, it's also hard mentally to want to go out in the snow when you get to the gym.
Sip hot cocoa, man.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. So what do you see? Is there anything you want to share with our guests that you want to?
I mean, I just hope my story gives people some confidence to go out and know that they can do it, and if they're looking to start over, maybe they feel like they're not in the right industry they need to be in, just kind of, there's a formula to it. You got to apply these fundamentals and these formula, and I would say, obviously don't stop what you're doing, but try to have, if you're trying to switch careers, you can juggle making some side money. I think that the biggest thing is having your, a lot of irons in the fire, as they say. And that'll keep people who have, serial entrepreneur, personalities like myself, it'll keep them occupied and busy and keep you from going crazy, even if it's making a little money, doing something just creative, that I think that kind of calms the storm in your head, and then you'll, just have some faith. It'll figure itself out.
And realistically, I mean, for me, and I'm a serial entrepreneur as well, boredom doesn't lead to anything good.
No.
That starts
right,
because if you're in that mindset and then all of a sudden boredom comes,
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of ton of good answers for boredom, right?
Yeah.
You have to have some type of coping mechanism for that mind always turning. And so
One of the best things I did is I was actually having a tree cut down on my parents' property, and I asked the guy, you're looking for help because I just needed something to do at the time. So I cut down, went and did residential tree work, and it was brutal, but
Yeah.
it was so good for me, like my mentally, and it was like I didn't need to go to the gym because it was so physically taxing. But mentally, I think it was one of the best things I've done for myself. Is,
Yeah.
Just went out there with a chainsaw and,
get after it.
got after it. Yeah,
I think
it really helped.
I think it's always funny when you do something like that, even if you're like in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, there's a lot of muscles I am not working out.
Oh, sore as hell every day. But it was great because, it gave me some sort of validation. I could go out there and make some money with my hands.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
I love that. That's my joking around about that. My brother always says, "Well, if you would just not work out just to show muscles, you'd be all right." I said, "I'm old, man. I have no other reason to do it."
Yeah, and you meet some interesting people when you do stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
So, this dude would go up 100. These are big trees in Seattle, man. They go up 180 feet.
Oh my gosh!
And start topping it down.
How do you even do that semi-safely?
He's just this guy had some balls of steel, man.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I look at that. I mean, I'm afraid of a 20-foot tree.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I would say find even if it's a weekend hustle to get out there and make some money. Digging ditches, whatever it is. I think that'll get you going into a better direction.
Yeah, give you
for sure
your self-worth.
Got me out of a rut for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
What would you say? Have you ever thought? Just put you on the spot here. Have you ever thought about coaching people in that transition period from going from athlete to?
I'm always open to I don't like seek it, but if I know anybody, I think the biggest thing I had to learn was financial literacy.
I love that.
Which I didn't, amazingly didn't have any really. Until I was done playing, I didn't have it as a player. You just don't have it. Even if you go to college, you kind of lose it because you go from being I don't know. I wish it was back then. It was like now where I could get some NIL money and blown that money in college, and then I've known. Yeah. But I spent my football money twice, man. It was. You go from having $100 in college in your pocket to now you're a millionaire. You just have no concept of that this money is just gonna, be taxed and spent, and it's gonna be gone quickly. So that's what I try to relate to guys is the financial literacy part, man, and how to treat $10 like it's $100, $100 like it's $1,000, and then these business managers are, most of them are blood-sucking vampires. So. I mean, if these guys just put their money into Roths or IRA or 401ks, but I've seen it time and time again. Mm-hmm. I think you could ask most athletes who've lost a lot of money, they would take another serious injury to their knee or something to get that money back. I mean, it's devastating.
I can imagine
to these guys, and I guess the biggest thing I would help them with is how to become financially literate and know what these people are doing with your money.
I love that.
And, how to live off tax-free interest, all that. You know this stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm excited because I'm like, man, we could do some things together. This is really cool.
Yeah, I wish the leagues did something where rookies' money had to go into municipal bonds or stuff like they couldn't. There had to be some type of waiting safeguards there on the money, even for NBA guys. But it's like I said, that seductive pitch where they say just all focus on sports, would take care of everything, sign here. Yeah. And now these guys they just look at some sheet at the end of the year and they're like, oh, that's how much money I have, not knowing this guy's done, bought properties and done, who knows what with it.
Right. It reminds me of what Jim Rohn said. He said, if you get $1 million, you best become a millionaire. So, saying on the mental mindset, the financial literacy, just because you have $1 million, that's what's the problem with lottery winners, right? Same thing.
Exactly.
It doesn't make be financially literate. So you got to become a millionaire in your mind as well as becoming a millionaire on paper.
Right. I got my first sign-in bonus, which was around, over $1 million. I said, who the fuck is FICA? Like,
I don't know that guy.
He just took all this money from me. You don't know until you learn the hard way. So I wish that there was some safeguards for guys, because I see it every day. There's poof.
Yeah. Well, I condone you for like saying it, for us doing that on the podcast and being able to talk about that, because hopefully it reaches some of them and hopefully they see that, because it's a shame realistically. And work so hard and to play at that level and get paid what you deserve to play at that level, and then
and they these guys will, the way they get in with the family, and then they implicate one of the family members because they paid them not to say it. It gets real messy real quick.
So I think that's awesome. The next step on our serial entrepreneurship is you and I starting a sports management company. I like it.
Man, pro bono.
There you go.
Actually, what I would love to do is go after some of these guys who have ripped off athletes for, a lot of money and try to get some of that money back for them. I'm not going to name any names.
Sure.
Because, we have a lot of pride as athletes. Nobody, it doesn't need to be out there that we got this taken advantage of. But I would like to go, rescue a lot of these guys' money that's been misappropriated. Because
a lot of them, realistically, if they don't have the skills that you've developed and the things that you've done, they've got no other way to turn.
Yeah, I mean, coaching's there. That's like the one thing fallback we all have is we can go coach, But when you've had an amazing career and you're in your late 30s and then tens of millions of dollars are gone, what are you going to do at that age?
Yeah.
Starting over is a lot harder at 40 than 30.
You're starting behind that 8 ball. Yeah, that's right. And I haven't heard it put any better than what you said about people are continuing to grow educationally while you're playing. And that's so smart.
Yeah.
That's a very well way of putting it. And I love that.
Yeah, well, I was in the gym. They were in the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. So that's well, I appreciate you. Anything else you want to share?
No, I mean, go to mride.com if you want to go catch a Raider game or a concert or Levi Stadium. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Teyo Johnson, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you, man.